It's November 4th, 2021, the beautiful city of Villages in Florida. My name is Jong-woo Han. I am the president of Korean War Legacy Foundation, where your interviews will be uploaded. We are doing this to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the breakup of the Korean War, supported by the MPVA, Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, which supported the peace camp program where your grandson went to Korea, right? You just told me that he enjoyed making a lot of friends from all over the world, 22 countries. My foundation has more than 1,500 of Korean War veterans interviewed, not just from the United States, but from all over the world, 21 other countries that participated in the Korean War. We are doing this to preserve your memory, first of all, because it's been a long, long time, and to honor your service as a Korean War veteran. But most importantly, Korean War has been known as forgotten war, and we want to fix that. That's why I started this whole thing, and we want to provide this interview to classrooms so that they can hear from the neighbor grandfather, which is Hank, right?
Yeah, right.
About what you saw in Korea 1950s. And if you have been back to Korea, then you will know what Korea is now. So let's talk about that, okay?
Okay,
it's
good.
It's a great pleasure and honor to meet you, sir. And you came with your beautiful wife. What's her name?
Janet.
Janet, thank you for coming here.
Welcome.
All right, and then please introduce yourself. What is your name? And spell it for the audience, please.
Yes, my name is Henry River, R-I-V-E-R.
We used to pronounce it River.
It looks like a river,
Yeah.
yes, but it's a family ancestry was from the Netherlands. And we always had the pronunciation with the long I.
River. That's good to know. What is your birthday, sir?
My birthday is June 28th. I was born in 1931.
You young.
I am young. 90 years young, yes.
Where were you born?
I was born in East St. Louis.
East?
East St. Louis, that's in Illinois. That's east of the city of St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. And Missouri?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
East St. Louis was in Illinois, right.
Yeah. So tell me about your family background when you were growing up. Your parents, what they did, and also your siblings.
My father was a blacksmith.
Mm-hmm.
He was a blacksmith with the railroads and had a very interesting job. He worked with a tremendously large furnace and made many different parts for the engines on the train.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was Velma, was her name.
Mm-hmm.
She was English. Her maiden name was Harrison.
Yep.
And I had 3 brothers, all younger than me, and 1 sister, Linda. And they are all deceased, passed away at this time.
Mm.
So I'm the sole survivor of the family.
Korean War veteran.
Korean War veteran, yes.
Yeah. So, tell me about your school. What high school did you graduate?
I went to East St. Louis Senior High School.
Mm-hmm.
I actually dropped out in the 12th grade.
Why?
Well, I probably got running around with
Too many girls?
got some friends that were probably not the best choice. But I dropped out of that. I went to work at a bank.
Yeah.
And,
dropped out and then worked in the bank?
Yes.
That's a good change.
I know. Well, I was, at that time, I was 17. At age 20 then, I was probably going to be drafted. My brother-in-law, who was the same age, had gotten his notice for being drafted.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I didn't want that. I wanted to join, so I joined the service. And in December of 1951, and was inducted. The induction center was up in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And from there, they sent me down to Camp Breckenridge, which was...
Camp
Breckenridge, which was a part of the 101st Airborne. They were located in near Morganfield, Kentucky. So that's where I had my basic training, my infantry basic training for 16 weeks. While I was in basic training, I took my GED for the high school.
What is GED?
That's to get my high school graduation diploma. And I did that and was pleased that went right through. I then went to leadership school there for 8 weeks. And during leadership school, they called me in and said my grades and my proficiency was such that they'd recommend me for OCS to go to officer training school.
Yeah.
And I agreed to that, and so I was sent to Fort Bliss, Texas for officer training school and spent 22 weeks there. Received my commission as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army Artillery in February 1953. 1953.
Okay, let's stop there.
Okay.
You got GED finally during your boot camp, right?
Yes.
Did you learn anything about Korea at the time before you dropped out the school or even after?
Not really, no.
Not really, right?
No.
Yeah. And you already knew that Korean War broke out when you become the second lieutenant, right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So were you thinking that you're going to be assigned to the Korean War?
I thought so, sure.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And what do you think about that? Were you afraid?
Not really, no. No, it was something that our country had committed to, and I was ready and willing to be a part of it.
Now you are a Korean War veteran. You didn't know nothing about Korea. Now you are the lover of Korean people, right?
Right, yes.
Have you been back to Korea after the war?
No, I haven't.
But
No.
you know you are following up with the improvement and the development of economy in Korea right now, right?
I have, very much so.
What do you know? Can you share that, your knowledge about the contemporary modern Korea with the students?
Well, I know that actually with my profession after getting out of the service,
Yeah.
I was in the banking field. I received my education, my college education at the University of Wisconsin, at Madison, Wisconsin.
That's a very good school.
It is. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. It was in conjunction with the banking school. I'd worked for the U.S. Treasury Department and as a bank examiner, assistant bank examiner after I got out of service. And they sent me there to continue my education. So we had a program there where we went for 3 years. We went to the school in the summer for 2 weeks, and then they gave us 5 very complicated, intricate problems to solve related to banking during the fall and winter and spring of each year. And you'd go back to school in the summer using your vacation for 2 weeks and review all of the things you have done and receive more instructions, a lot of lectures by highly noted bankers, primarily, professors and economics professors. And that was, at that time, we learned a lot about Korea.
About Korea. So tell me about what you learned about Korea at the time. When was it? That was 1960s or?
Yeah, I graduated from there in 1961.
Okay.
But and then
you studied economics or business?
Both.
Both.
Yes.
So now tell me about Korea that you knew at the time.
Well, we knew their economic growth was tremendous. You know, they were some of the things they were doing. Some of the buildings they were creating in their major cities like Seoul. I could see pictures of what was happening there. I saw what industries they were getting active in. The automobile industry was tremendous that they were doing. Banking was a very big thing for them. The Korean people themselves were uplifted mightily, I might say, and highly respected in spite of their neighbor. They were so much more advanced. It was just it was pleasing to see, after what the U.S. had participated in, that the country had become so successful.
Right. Can you compare any other country that came out of beautifully, like Korea, the countries that U.S. has involved since World War II? Can you name any other country other than Korea that accomplished such fastest economic growth? You mentioned about that, right?
Right.
Yeah, it was almost like a 20% GDP growth at the time. So can you name any other country other than Korea?
Well, probably for creating industry, maybe Taiwan, Hong Kong.
Yeah, but Taiwan and Hong Kong, they never involved in the war.
No, they weren't.
So I'm talking about any country that U.S. has involved as a part of war and came out beautifully like South Korea.
No,
right?
They were a shining example, really.
That's it. So you are the right person to talk about it. Right person to talk about it. Excellent. But that was your observation in the 1960s and 70s. Now, do you know the rank of Korean economy now in the world?
The ranking?
Yeah.
I would think they're probably 5th or 6th.
That was too much overestimation, but it's a 10th largest economy in the world.
10th largest?
Yeah.
Okay.
South Korea is a little bit bigger than the state of Indiana. They don't have a drop of oil. I'm an American citizen now, but they don't have drop of oil. They don't have much natural resources, but they are the largest shipbuilder in the world. They are the largest maker of the computer chips, Samsung, right?
Right, yeah.
What do you think about that? The country you fought for long time ago, completely devastated, but now they are the global economic power and military 6th largest in the world. What do you think about it?
Well, I think they had great leadership. I think that was the key to all of it. Was they with their education, they pursued education to a very large measure. They had terrific leadership in both the civilian economic area and also in the military. They always had that fear of North Korea to their north. You know, that was a tremendous burden to have while you were doing all of this, to think that your neighbors up north were such that you didn't know what was going to happen from day to day, week to week. So I think Korea has done a tremendous job, and I'm glad I would help be a part of it.
When did you arrive in Korea?
I arrived there. I was on a troop ship when they signed the ceasefire. I was on a troop ship going there at that time, and if I got there, we landed in Sasebo and then went over to Japan and landed at Incheon. And I was assigned to the 7th.
When was it?
That was...
after the armistice, right?
Right afterwards. Right.
So it's July or August?
July.
1953. And then from there, where did you go?
Well, I was assigned to the 7th Infantry Division. I was, with the artillery background, I was given an MOS of a forward observer.
Forward observer.
Yes, that was with heavy artillery, because that was my military education was with heavy artillery. I was actually assigned to, after I received my commission, I was assigned to Chicago for putting up we had 90 millimeter guns in the city, located in different parts of the city in Chicago, out on Lakeshore Drive. My installation was at an intersection of Foster and Kedzie, right in the middle of Chicago. But those were heavy guns. When I went to Korea, of course, there wasn't heavy artillery at that time. There was more light artillery, using tanks and 40 millimeter guns. So
from Incheon, where did you go?
I went there. We went to Busan.
What? From Incheon to Busan?
For a while, I think for getting assignment to the 7th Infantry Division.
Huh. Incheon was the harbor in the northwest, and the Busan was far south.
Now, maybe it wasn't Busan. It's a long time ago.
So you landed in Busan and then you went up to Incheon?
No, we landed in Incheon. I don't know if we got to Busan. Maybe it was another location.
Okay.
But I ended up at Panmunjom.
Panmunjom.
Yes, where they had signed the ceasefire.
Right.
And I was in the 7th Infantry Division, but our battalion was assigned to the 1st Marine Division, who was there at Panmunjom to be a peacekeeper in case the ceasefire didn't work.
I see.
And that's where I was stationed, and we were building fortifications in case there was a breakout of the ceasefire.
Mm-hmm. What was your unit out of 7th Division?
I was assigned to I don't have the battalion. I didn't bring the battalion number, but I was assigned to a company that was a national reserve unit from Puerto Rico.
Uh-huh.
So I was sent into a Puerto Rican company, and of course all of them spoke Spanish fluently. Yeah. I was probably at a little bit of a difficult pass there, but we got by. I was mostly assigned to. I had a platoon leader we had 8 tanks with 40 millimeter guns, twin 40 millimeter guns on them, and we built bunkers for those tanks to fit in to support the Marines in case there was a problem.
But you were 2nd lieutenant, so how many soldiers under your leadership?
90.
90? And most of them are from Puerto Rico?
Well, it was a mixture because this had been going on. They had been there a long time, and there had been replacements into the company, so there was a mixture there of Puerto Ricans, the U.S. Soldiers, and we were attached we were in the field unit. We weren't in a town at all. We were out in the field, so my platoon was separate, working with the 1st Marine Division there, the group that was running that.
So when did you leave Korea?
Well, what happened when we hit Sasebo, Japan, and the ceasefire was in, they had informed us that there was an oversupply of Army officers. Huh. And I'd spent over a year training, and they said what we're going to do is put them in inactive reserves to have them in case we need them later. So I signed a form for an early release, and in December of that year, the early release came through, and they called me in and said, "We're going to send you back. We don't need you anymore." So I said, "Thank you," But
so you left Korea December of 1953.
Yeah, actually, I was on a troop ship on December 31st. I celebrated New Year's Day twice on the ship. As we hit the international date line.
Exactly. So you were celebrating the
there wasn't anything on the ship to celebrate with.
In the Pacific, and then you entered the new time zone, so that another New Year's Day.
Yes.
Good for you.
Yes, it was very unusual.
Yeah.
So we came back to Seattle, and then to Fort Sheridan in Chicago, outside Chicago.
Had you been to Seoul City when you were in Panmunjom area?
No.
Were you able to see another city in Korea?
No. It was all we were stationed in the field, and it was mostly just the farmers and the people that were in the area.
How was the situation there, the living conditions for Koreans? Give me the detail, because these children do not know anything about Korea in 1953.
With the war going on, it was tough. I had a young man, Kim, who was actually my. He took care of my clothes and my laundry, that sort of thing.
Yeah. How old was he?
He was 9 years old.
Okay.
9 years old, and he did an excellent job. I was the only officer out in the field with my platoon, and I would pay him with giving him a bag of rice each month.
Rice?
Rice.
You get the supply of rice there?
Yes.
How come? Americans didn't eat the rice there.
I could give him my funds that we'd received. We didn't receive dollars and pay over there.
Script, right?
It was script.
Yeah.
And I would give him script, and he could acquire then a bag of rice each day.
That's how it worked.
Yeah.
Right. Did you like him?
Oh, yes. He was like my child, really. I was really cared for him. He was sad when I got my orders to leave, because we had just received our Christmas presents.
Right.
That in December from the families, and I had all kinds of Christmas presents that came in. So I gave them all to him to take and give to his family. So.
Could have been very nice Christmas for him.
I think it was. There was a lot of food, a lot of cookies, a lot of candies and toys. So.
Did he speak in English?
He did, very much.
Really?
It was amazing, his ability to adapt to the English language so fast.
Oh, that was miserable time, right? They had to work anything, and they had to have anything to chew. I mean, in my foundation's website, there are a lot of pictures, okay? And one of them is Korean boys and girls swimming, like in the swimming pool. That was actually waste dump, okay? And try to find anything to eat that, thrown up by the Americans. That's how it was.
I know. You
remember that, right?
I remember the first thing when we landed at Incheon, the smell, because of them using
human
waste for fertilizer. It was, it was so different from what I was used to. Mm-hmm. We adapted to it, and after a while, it really wasn't noticeable because we were out in the field there and not in a organized community. So
that's a honeypot that you called it.
Yeah,
right?
It's a honeypot. Yes, yes.
What a honey, right?
Yeah. No.
What else did you think that Korea was at the time when you landed in Incheon? What did you see? And tell me those details to the students.
When we landed in Incheon, it was, I guess, I noticed that civilians were out in the water, as the tide would come in and out, collecting food.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And when we, after I was there for a while, and we would take our tanks down to Incheon to fire them at targets out over the water, pulled by RCATs with sleeves on there to shoot at the RCAT. And the people would be out in the water doing that sort of thing. And they were very humble. You know, they were poor, and that's what was so amazing, the way Korea developed after the war.
When you left December 31st, 53, had you ever imagined that Korea would change like this?
No.
Why not?
Well, it just didn't seem possible. You know, there was so much conditions caused by the war of needing of food, needing of clothing. The people didn't have a lot of shoes, clothes to wear. It was very discouraging, but they proved that they could do it. They did.
Now, South Korea is one of the strongest allies to the United States in the midst of Chinese challenge against the U.S. hegemony. And do you know that that was the first time ever the U.S. actually fought against China in the Korean War?
Yes, because in World War II they were allies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. General Chenault, and the Flying Tigers and all, and flying their routes through China, fighting Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that Korean War has not finished in the Korean Peninsula, and also between U.S. and China, still tug of war there.
Oh, very much.
Right?
It's frightening, yes.
It is. It is frightening.
It
China declared officially that they're going to challenge the U.S. hegemony. You know?
I know, yes.
Yeah. So what do you think about this? The Korean War, the place of Korean War in world history is such important, but we don't teach about it. It's been known as forgotten war. Why is that? And how can we change that? Why is it known as forgotten war according to your idea?
Well, I really never thought of it as a forgotten war, because we've had, 30,000 plus troops there since 1950s.
Right.
There have been a lot of Americans that have served in South Korea after the war. And I know when my grandson, you know, he was able to go there for a week for your
peace camp.
And he loved it. And he was so amazed at the city of Seoul, about the different areas that they went to. I think they even went up to Panmunjom to
of course,
that area, and the buildings that had been built. It was more like an American city, very much like.
Yeah.
And actually, it ended up changing his thoughts of what he wanted to do. He was in his first or second year of college, and it changed his thinking after that he wanted to change his major, in that he changed his major over to history, and is pursuing a degree in history, working on his master's, or he hadn't gotten into his doctorate yet, but he wants to pursue that because of what he said was going to Korea is what enlightened him as to what the world should be, and just what he learned on that trip.
What's his name? What's his name?
Jacob Robin, R-O-B-I-N.
Jacob. What university is he in now?
He's in Cal Poly in California.
Very good.
Yeah, he's actually right now working for one of the museums, isn't he?
Well, he was working up there at Cal Poly a little bit.
Yeah.
I just gave you the DVD.
Okay.
Can you look at it upside down?
Since I have my eyesight is, I have macular degeneration.
Not
so
a problem.
My central vision is not there. My peripheral is all right.
But if you look at it, there are one gentleman there. He is the Korean War veteran. He is the former POW. He spent his hell days of 3 years in the Byeokdong prison camp in Yalu River, not River, in North
Yalu
Korea.
River, yes.
Yeah. And the young guy is his great-grandson. 3 years ago, he was just graduate his high school, but he didn't know anything about Korean War, even though his great-grandfather was in POW camp for 3 years.
Wow.
So we took them together to Korea, and it was part of peace camp program. I took them there, and I took him to the Panmunjom and the Bridge of No Return, where that his great-grandfather came from that POW camp to the free country. We all gave all this information, and they began to talk to each other. It's a cross-generational conversation about the Korean War. Now he's all in for Korea. It's just like your grandson, Jacob.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. We need to do those things, but if you go to the history textbook, there is only one paragraph about the Korean War, while history textbook allocate 3 pages on the Vietnam War. Why is that?
Yes, that's very, I don't know. The Korean War to me was so much different than later wars like Vietnam. The Korean War, from our direction, from the direction of the United States, the people here respected and admired the people that were the Americans that were participating in the war.
What war?
In the Korean War,
yeah.
When they came home, which was a completely different attitude and outlook for the guys coming back from Vietnam. I think the people at that time the draft was still in effect, and I think that a lot of the American people had family, their sons involved in the Korean War, in the Far East Command.
Yeah. So, because your major career was working in the bank and actually examining the bank and working with the federal government, so you have a better perspective of economic perspective about the changes made in Korea, right?
Right.
Yeah. You need to tell more about it. So tell the students to the camera. What do you want to tell to the students about the economic changes that are taking place in Korea?
I think that the changes that were made was a direct product of the education and the leadership that they were receiving there. Their education was, I think, a lot stronger than we were receiving in the United States. I think the leadership, both economic direction, the military direction, all of that proved to educate the people of Korea and let them realize what could be accomplished through that, and they've done that. It's remarkable the way that country has developed.
Hank, good to have you because you have such a perspective, on economic developments, and so that you can tell young Americans about it. Okay, so let's go back to your service during in 1953. Were there any dangerous moments that you might have been killed?
There was a couple. We were up on test firing at Incheon, with our tanks.
Was training, right?
It was training. We were making sure the equipment was working.
Yep.
And we were training. And in my position as platoon leader, I was on a little berm in between a couple of the tanks that were practicing shooting at. We called them RCATs for towing of sleeves, and the guns would shoot to provide show their accuracy for hitting those sleeves. And and one of the sleeves became unattached to the RCAT flying over, and it crashed right beside me. Oh. And I was unaware of it at the time. And that was a frightening moment. Another time was we were in field all of that time, and we were attached to a Korean unit, and we called them the ROK unit, Republic of Korea. Yep. And the colonel that was there called me over, and he said he wanted me to visit their camp because they'd captured some North Koreans. And this was shortly after the ceasefire was signed. And he took me over there, and they interrogated them, and it was very interesting as to what happened. But I really don't want to pursue that anymore because it wasn't a good ending to it.
Good.
Okay.
As an officer, how much were you paid at the time?
Now, actually, my pay was I was married early.
At the time?
Yeah, I was married.
Oh.
I was married at 19. My wife was 21, and we were married. Didn't have any children, but my pay was going back to her.
Right.
And I was just receiving like $50 a month in scrip over there. So the pay that really wasn't a important part of our tour at all.
I know, but students wants to know how much were you paid.
Yeah, it was very minimal, very minimal.
Were there any McDonald's or Burger Kings? They are asking that kind of
No,
questions.
there were no, not at that time.
Where did you sleep?
Yeah.
Did you sleep in tent or quonset?
Yeah, we lived. Yeah, I had a tent. I had a tent as an officer, and then the men were in squad tents, and we had a mess tent and supply tent. We had our own little compound there, and little did I know, but we were paying rent on that ground that we were occupying there in Panmunjom.
You paying the rent?
Yeah, to the Korean government at that time.
You kidding me?
No, I was amazed, but that was part of the arrangement. I was a paymaster in our unit because
Koreans must be a good businessman.
They were good businessmen. Yes, they were. They were. I proved it, and they kept going. But the soldiers there, like I say, that were out in the field, didn't really need much money.
Right.
There was no place to spend it.
Was it close to $100 per month?
Probably so. Probably so. I think at that time I think mine was closer to $50 a month that I was receiving, and then my wife was receiving like $375 or $400 for my service. But she was receiving
per month.
Yes, back in the U.S.
So your whole total salary was close to $400?
Probably, yes.
You must be a rich man now.
I didn't save every penny, but I would suggest that the banking industry is a fine place to to have a career.
Absolutely.
It really is. It's
You did beautiful. University of Wisconsin is one of the best in economics, right?
It is.
I know for sure because I taught at Syracuse University, the political science.
Okay.
Yeah, so great. I think we need to wrap this up, but
Okay.
you never been back to Korea, right, after that?
No, no. The biggest thing we had was sending our grandson there.
Yeah. But you know that Korean government is still running the Revisit Korea program, right? You can go. If you want to, you let me know so that I can put your name into the list and they will invite you, your wife too.
You know, one interesting thought I didn't bring up to you while I was in Korea in 1953, General McWaters was also there in 1953 and in the same 7th Infantry Division, and he was a buck private at that time. He was 17 years old. Of course, I didn't know him at that time, but he and I were there together.
You should have given some hard time to him.
Yeah.
Now he's general.
Now he's general.
And president of the chapter.
Yes.
So,
he's a fine man, too.
Oh, I love him. I love him. He's very straightforward. And so... But
he's done a lot for our 169th group and for the country.
Yeah.
He is a great patriot, great
I will
soldier.
continue to work with him. But I want to show people your picture there. Can you bring that
this?
frame? Yeah.
I know there's glass on it.
Beautiful.
That was right after I had received my commission.
Beautiful man. Huh?
Thank you.
Wow. Like a movie star. But you were already married, right?
I was.
Where was it? Is it your home?
That was in East St. Louis, Illinois.
Yeah, hold like that. I want to take a still shot too. And that will be, this picture will be with you in your interview in the website, okay?
Great.
So that your grandson can see it and watch it. And he got to do more about the legacy of the Korean War, okay? All right. Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much for
Absolutely. But before we leave, do you have any message to the Korean people in the context of 70th anniversary of the Korean War?
I thank them for the hospitality, actually, that we received. The Korean people, while I was there, although it was a relatively short time, were very, very congenial, great people to... They appreciated us being there, and we appreciated their kindness and all that while we were there.
What would you say to the young Americans about the legacy of the Korean War and your honorable service?
Well, I think that our young people, actually, you know, I was a strong believer in military service for 2 years of both male and female. For me, it helped me to grow up. It helped me to better understand supervision, direction, ability to get along with people. It did so much for me, and I wish we still had that. But I would say to our people today, the Korean people, I know are appreciative of what we did at that time, because they continue to do things such as they're doing now with this.
Yep.
And I really respect all of that's happened.
They're the only country that has.
Yeah, they're the only country that's really shown appreciation to the United States for sending their men and women and effort to help them at time of need.
See, that's why we have to learn history, and that's why I think Jacob is doing a good job.
Yes, that was well worth. All of that happening was him being able to change his profession, his direction to wanting to be a part of history.
Turned it right around.
It did.
Say hello to him, okay?
I will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.